Hey, how's it going? Jason right here. In this video, I'm going to show you the basics on how to build an automation. So you have a couple options here. You follow the big blue buttons. So there is the option to start from scratch, and then there's a whole bunch of kind of pre-cooked recipes, if you will, that are available with a description, which is kind of a great place to start if you don't know what you're doing. So you just see me, you can scroll too. I mean, I'm making like no progress here. There's probably hundreds, right? There's a lot of options. When I first started with ActiveCampaign more than 7 years ago, there wasn't anywhere close to this many. It's unbelievable. I haven't done this in years, what I'm doing now. There's a lot of options, which is not a bad thing. For the purpose of this video, we're going to roll with start from scratch. All right, so there is a lot of ways to build an automation. I want to keep this simple, so let's kind of walk through here. So the first thing it's going to ask you to do is build a trigger or select a trigger, right? And you can do so with these options here. And there's even an option to start without a trigger, okay? So you might be like, what? So selecting a trigger is going to create, it's going to watch for a process or a condition. And when it sees that, it's going to start the automation automatically. Now, starting an automation without a trigger, you might go, well, why would you do that? If you want to control who and when somebody joins an automation, you want absolute control to make sure there's no mistakes, or maybe you're using an automation one time, which we'll get into a couple videos from now. There is scenarios where starting without a trigger makes sense. I, in fact, use it all the time. So your most common options, I've been doing this a long time, and there's no right or wrong view on this, but in my opinion, the most common options that you'll see and that you'll use when somebody subscribes to a list, when somebody submits a form, that's going to be an ActiveCampaign form, when a tag is added, those are going to be some of the big ones right there. Okay. And like Calendly event is created, you can use that, but you can also use a Calendly tag to do the same thing. So there's a lot of different ways to do things. So I'm going to start without a trigger just for the purpose of this. And you'll notice as you work in this automation builder, you'll have two options. Option one is going to appear as soon as I hit this plus, right? It's going to have different options, but if you notice, sending option here, conditions and workflow here, conditions and workflow here. You have the same options in this menu and in this menu. And 99% of the time, I personally use the menu to the right. Now, I was doing something the other day, and I was going rapid fire, building a really big, complicated automation. And this menu actually came in handy because it was just every time I clicked the plus, it popped up, and I knew exactly where to go. So it's whatever you want to do. If you don't like this in your face and don't want to use it, you can X out of it, and the same features are available here. So first thing you want to do with an automation is name it. We'll call this one test automation. Okay. And in the next video after this one, I'll get into some of the most common automations for you. I'm looking back here at my notes, kind of behind me here, but we're just going to do a real basic example here. Okay, so one of the most common triggers, like I mentioned, will be your list trigger. It's one that I use a bunch. And you can have it fire when somebody subscribes to any list, or more specifically, let's say there's a lead magnet, right? Somebody is opting in to get a PDF or a video series on a particular topic. You select if you want it to run one or more times. Once is usually the right answer. And then there is even the ability to create what we call conditional triggers. So an example would be they opt into this list. It only works once per contact, and it's identifying by their email address. And they also have to have this tag, right? So this is set up for real estate investors. If you're not a real estate investor, these lists and tags won't mean anything, but it doesn't matter what it is. In this example, they've got to be on this list and have this tag. And if so, if both those conditions exist, then somebody's allowed to enter this automation. If not, it won't trigger. Let's go with a more simple example. Most people won't use conditional triggers because it's not necessary, but there's cases and there's clients that do. It's just not very many. So we're going to keep it simple. We're going to go with a list trigger that runs one time. And then what I do is I click and drag from here, but if you hit the plus, you can get that menu there. So typically when somebody opts in for a lead magnet, you're going to send them an email. It's going to say, hey, thanks for doing this. Click your link to download it, right? So a naming convention that I recommend for every automation is email and the number of what the email it is. You can call it whatever you want to, okay? And I'll tell you why. It's going to ask you if you want to start with a template or start with a past, or if you just want to frame out the automation, if you just want to build the architecture and don't want to worry about the templates right now, you can hit save and design later, okay? So I would normally pick this. This is an option, or you can save and design later. I want to show you what that looks like. So it gives me that placeholder and gives you suggested actions, which I don't really want those there. And then I can keep going, okay? So let's say that we did a lead magnet automation. They get an email. Let's say we wait for a day. And see how you can just kind of logically follow what I'm doing just by talking about it out loud. And let's say from there they go to like a main list. Okay, and let's do the master contact list. Okay, and you could fundamentally leave it like that and it works fine. My OCD will not allow me to do that, and I have to use this into this automation piece. Adding this or not having this makes no difference on the experience for the contact. But now it looks complete. Bothers me that much. All right, so let's say we frame this out. We're going to come back to it later. This is my process a lot, is I will architect or I'll build these out, and then I'll come back later and I'll start banging out the emails, okay? So let's say we made this the other day. We're coming back to do it. It's going to default in this inactive phase. So let's go ahead and assign a template to this email. So we're going to click on this email. Now you get back to one of these options. We'll start with a template. And I usually personally use, and this is personal preference, a newsletter template or an automation template, okay? So you're going to probably be using the email designer. This classic designer is an older feature, which some accounts don't even show anymore. And typically what I do for automations, so it'll pull in your info. If it doesn't, you can just write it in there. Sometimes it won't pull in the right info. I usually put to be determined, TBD, and I'll come back and change it later. So again, it's personal preference. There's no right or wrong way. So I'll come in here, pretend this is branded with your logos, got your social channels, and then I've got whatever I've got in here, and then I'll come in and write this, whatever I want to put here for my email copy. So, blah, blah, blah. Same thing we did with the campaign. You can come up here and test it and all that kind of stuff, which you should do. But it's going to be the same builder you use in the campaign. Okay, if you want to come in here, I'm going to change the subject line. We're going to do that. You can put, this is a test. Okay. So the first time you're building an email in an automation, if you hit save and exit, let's just do it. You go back here to your automation, you'll notice something. Okay, it's going to ask you when you want to send it. If you don't have a plan that offers predictive sending, which is a higher level feature, you won't see that option. Okay. You see how it says currently a draft? Even if you turn this sucker active and you put somebody in here, they're not going to get that email. It cannot be in draft status. The only way to get it out of draft status is you're going to go edit. I'm going to go right back to this summary page where we just were. The first time you do it, you have to hit finish. Now, if you come back and make changes, you can hit save and exit or finish. It doesn't matter. Now the test mode's gone. Okay, test it out, ready to go, turn it active. Now, the reason we name emails, email number 1, blah, 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 is because when you get more than one email, let's say you have 10, and you come up here and you click and you want to see your open rates, you don't get a very big space to name it. So if you just write what it is, you're going to get a list that's not necessarily in the order that they're in the automation, and you're going to go, I have no idea what order these emails again, so then the open rates don't make sense. Generally with open rates, they're going to be highest at the beginning, and they're going to trend down as you go on, but that's not always the case. So it's nice to know which order of the emails you're looking in so that when you have data, you can wrap your mind around it. Okay, so we've done a very simple automation here. Again, if you like this menu, check it out. It is color-coded to match, and it's funny, when I was using this the other day, I go, man, this is actually kind of nice. So all these colors here are the same colors the elements will be in the automation. So like if I add a tag, you'll see the tag color is going to be the same color we just saw there in the automation. See, I recognize all these colors because I've been doing this forever. Like these are all the right colors of the elements, deals. That's something new. Then all your CX apps. CX stands for customer experience, by the way. So it's whatever you want to do. I personally, I mean, this is actually pretty nice looking at, but I personally don't use it because I feel like it's blocking my view. And the way that my mind works, I want to be able to see what I'm working on, right? I want to see my canvas, so I tend to pull from over here. And even though this is a green element, I know that because I've done this so much, it all looks the same until you get it into play here, right? And it's going to turn green because it's related to a deal. So in the automation, you can click, drag stuff, move stuff around, and it'll ask you what you want to do. So you'll pick your option or whatever. So it's pretty user friendly. It's pretty easy to use. And then if you want to delete an automation, you can do so. You can turn it active or inactive right from here. Inactive is going to go red light. And if you want to delete an automation for some reason, you can delete it. Before I delete it, I'll show you this as well. You can also add a label. So if you add a label, it can be something you already have, or if you want to create a new label, you can. All right, we will call this test label. Let's say we spell it wrong. Okay, that's how we spelled label. We're going to create that, and you might go, oh man, that looks horrible. How do I fix it? So this is like not easy to figure out. You don't fix it here. Okay, this makes no sense at all, but it's important for you to know. You have to go to website. You're going to actually go to your forms, right? You're going to come up here, and you just need to pick one form, okay? You're going to go to add label, and you're going to go find that crazy label you made. You're going to click the pencil. You're going to fix what you want, and you're going to hit save. Then you can actually delete that label, right? So you come down here and uncheck it. It's gone. That was actually the automation label. It's the same label for forms and automations. All right, now look, it's fixed. So it's a really weird thing, but now you know how to do that. If you didn't know how to do that and you wanted to change it, it would drive you crazy trying to figure it out. If you uncheck, it goes away, and then you can actually add more than one label if it makes sense and if you want to as well. See that? So we will go ahead and remove those. Oops. And sometimes you'll see this glitch where this label won't get out of the way. Try clicking off of the menu. If you go back to it, it should be gone. Yeah, it's sad that I know the glitches of this software to the point where I'm like, hey, when you see this, this isn't going to make any sense, but just trust me. But that's what happens when you do this stuff as long as me. All right, I'm just going to delete this automation. Again, you're not going to delete it by mistake. There's 1 click, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 clicks to delete. So there's no accidental deleting. Okay. So now you know how to build an automation. Play around with it. Have some fun. Keep it as simple as you can. In the next video, I'm going to just show you like 3 or 4 of the most common automations. I'll just build them out real quick just so you can kind of see how they work. I can show you the variations that you may see with triggers and things based on the strategy you want to use. But I think you'll find it helpful just like this video. See you then.